I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawahshi, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing this truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Okay. And let's see. I'm going to go in Acts, the 7th chapter, starting at the 22nd verse. And this is the brother Shabai from the GMS Denver camp. And really just was reading this chapter and just what triggered me to do this lesson. It just the disbelief of the 2/3 and our own people, how they don't believe that we are the men of Yahawahshi, that we are the men of the Lord. Okay, their lack of faith. Okay, they'll go and worship the gods that the Edomites have set up, the heathen have set up, the gods that don't look like them. But they fail when it comes to believing and understanding that their own people, their brethren, are prophets of the Lord. See? And I was reading this Acts chapter 7, and it just gives you a perfect example of that. Okay? So let's read it. Acts 7 and 22. And Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and was mighty in words and in deeds. Okay, so Moses, he was learned. He was basically you could say educated in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, right? Because that was the superpower, on the earth at that time. And Moses, he was educated. We know the story of Moses. He was brought up by Pharaoh's daughter when he was cast into the river, and her maiden found him, drew him out of the water, and brought Moses as a baby to Pharaoh's daughter, and she raised Moses as her own. Right, you can watch that cartoon, The Prince of Egypt, and it basically this is what this story is about. Okay, so anyway, it says but the thing is Moses grew up in Egypt and was well educated, well learned. It says here in all the wisdom of the Egyptians. It says, and when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel. All right. And guess who put that thought, that consideration in his heart, in his mind? Because heart is mind. It was the Most High Yahawah, right? Because the Most High, he dictates our steps. He does, he puts the spirit on us to do the things that we do. Okay. So if you have a thought to do something and you end up following through and doing it, it's because the Most High put that in your heart. Okay. Put that in your mind. It says in verse 24, and seeing one of them suffering wrong, he defended him and avenged him that was oppressed, and smote the Egyptian. For he supposed his brethren would have understood how that the Most High by his hand would deliver them, but they understood not. And this is a common thing with our people, the 2/3 especially, right? They don't understand what this is about. They don't understand this ministry. They don't understand the truth. And you got to understand, his brethren were in captivity with him, along with him, right? Even though he had a high status in Egypt, because the Most High had put him in a high status, right? As Pharaoh's son. Pharaoh's grandson, because it was Pharaoh's daughter who raised him, right? Raised Moses. So the thing is when the Most High put it in his heart to be, to be concerned with his true people, the Israelites, who were in slavery at the time. The Most High put that in his heart. And his people, our own people, they don't see, that they don't, first of all, they don't understand they're in slavery. Just like in the time of the Egyptians, our people, pretty much, they were in that same mindset. They were working daily for the Egyptians. They were in subject to the Egyptians. And, they didn't feel like they were in slavery. Just like today, our people, they get a job, they get maybe a career, and they're like, oh, I'm in the land of the free. I'm not in no damn slavery. And that's their mindset. And this verse 25, it makes you think of when you first came into truth. How when you first learned the truth, and you started being like, in your mind, you're like, man, I'm going to share this with all my people. I can't wait to share this with my brothers, my sisters, my aunts, my uncles, my parents, whatever, right? Because you think they're going to understand this, and then this is the bitter part of this ministry. Because remember, it's sweet and bitter. But the bitter part comes when you start to realize that, the majority of our own people are not going to be in this righteous mindset, So let's keep reading. It says, and the next day he showed himself unto them as they strove, and he would have set them at one again, saying, Sirs, ye are brethren, why do you wrong one another? But he that did his neighbor wrong thrust him away, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge over us? Right? And that's how our people, they look at us. We try to tell them the truth. We try to tell them, hey, the blessings that are going to come upon our people. And this is the sentiment that they have. This is the attitude they give us. Who made you a judge? What makes you think you're a prophet? You know what I mean? In this same fashion. And this shows you, these are clues that show you how the spirits are regenerated, reincarnated, because they were feeling the same way about Moses as they do about the prophets that are in this age, which that word prophet, it means teacher. So we are the teachers that Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahawashi has set over you. And you don't want to admit, or you don't want to receive the prophets of Yahawah Ba'ashem Yahawashi. Right? It says, verse 28, Would thou kill me as thou didst the Egyptian yesterday? Right? So they'll try and throw daggers at you. Try and act like, what I'm saying? Like, oh, you're gonna, I knew you when you was, when you was thugging, or I knew you when you were young and before you were in the truth, You're going to do some dirt like you did when you were a young man, or whatever the case may be, right? But that's how they look at us. They don't look at us like the prophets of the Lord, okay? And then Yahawahshi spoke on that too. Let's get this verse in. We got several verses to bring out. Let's grab it. We'll start out with Matthew 13 and verse 57. And this is talking about Yahawahshi, okay? It says, we'll start at 54. Matthew 13 and 54. And when he was come into his own country, he taught them in their synagogue, insomuch that they were astonished and said, Whence hath this man this wisdom and these mighty works? Is not this the carpenter's son? Because he was, they knew him as Joseph's son. They didn't know him as the Messiah, the Mashiach. Right? It says, Is not his mother called Mary, and his brethren James and Joseph and Simon and Judas? He's like, hey man, that's that dude. That's James' brother. That's Simon's brother, Joseph's brother. Right? He was just common to them. Right? They knew him, but they didn't know who he was. Right? In the spirit, it says, And his sisters, are they not all with us? Whence then he hath this man all these things? And they were offended in him. But Yahawahshi said unto them, a prophet is not without honor, save in his own country and in his own house. And he did not many mighty works there because of their unbelief. Okay, so they didn't believe that he was the prophet. They didn't believe that he was the chief priest, that he was the Yahawahshi HaMashiach, right? He wasn't welcome in his own country. He wasn't received as a prophet in his own house, you see? And that's the same thing with us, you know? The majority of these people, they don't really think you're the true prophets of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. They don't believe, and the phone chimed on that. They don't believe that you're the men of the Lord, right? They hear it, until some type of calamity comes upon them, they're not going to believe, that we are the men of the Lord, And that's why this is part of this walk in this ministry. It deals with patience, But if you're a seasoned vet, if you've been in this ministry for a little while, you understand and and this is not something that's going to shake you, right? It's not going to something that's going to take you out of the truth, because the brothers who have been doing this for a while, who are seasoned, who have the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai on us, listen, we know and understand these things, so it's not like it's something that's gonna have an effect on us in a negative fashion, you see. So, but that's the sentiment that these people have, though. They don't believe we're the prophets of the Lord, right? Let's get to another one real quick. Might be similar to what we just read. Mark 6:4. Yeah. It says, it's pretty much Mark. Yeah, this is Mark's account of what we just read in Matthew. So it's the same account. And I'll start at 2 this time. Mark 6:2. And when the Sabbath day was come, he began to teach in the synagogue. And many were hearing him, were astonished, saying, from whence hath this man these things? And what wisdom is this which is given unto him, that even such mighty works are wrought by his hands? Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Joses and Judah and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us? And they were offended at him. But Yahawahshi said unto them, a prophet is not without honor, but in his own country and among his own kin and in his own house. Okay? So, that's the thing, they don't believe we're the prophets. And I'm going to read verse 5 on this one. It says, and he could there do no mighty work, save that he laid his hands upon a few sick folk and healed them. And really, this sickness that it's talking about, it's basically a sickness of a spiritual, sickness. It's not necessarily dealing with a physical ailment. Because when you don't believe in the truth, when you don't believe in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai or his prophets, well, you're actually looked at as sick. Okay, the sick are the ones who are, you haven't repented, you haven't received Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. You don't believe his men, his prophets are on the earth right now. So that's a sick. You're sick in the head, basically, right? Let's get Jeremiah 1:5. It says, or I'm sorry, this is 1:3. Or no, I'm tripping. Salakia. I need to grab. Let's see. Isaiah 1:5. Salakia. It says, why should you be stricken any more? Ye revolt more and more. The whole head is sick and the whole heart faint. Your mind is faint and your head is sick. You Israelites. You Israelites who are outside of this truth, outside of this ministry, outside of the elect, outside, we call ourselves the hopeful elect right now, but you're outside of this, you haven't repented, you're still calling on false idols, false gods, or you're way out in the world, you don't worship nothing but idolatry. You're sick in the head according to this truth, according to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. You see? But the ones who are going to be healed are going to be the ones who are who have it in their heart to receive the knowledge, to be eventually you're going to receive salvation because of your faith and your belief in the men that the Lord Yahweh has set up, right? Let's grab that real quick. Jeremiah 3:15. And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. Okay? So you're going to have pastors according to the scriptures that are going to be set up by Yahweh B'Shem Yahawahshi and able to break down the truth to you. Okay? We're on the street corners. Wisdom crieth in the streets. Right? Like it tells you in Proverbs. And then, let me see. What is it? Isaiah 30. It's Isaiah 30 and 20. It says, and though Yahweh give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner anymore, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers. Okay? So you may not believe that we're the teachers. You may not believe that we have the truth. You may not believe we're the men of the Lord. But guess what? Either way, you're going to see us. You're going to see us on the street corners. You're going to see us on YouTube. You're going to see us on the different platforms from the internet, right? See the phone chime on that. Your eyes are going to see your teachers. Okay? Let me see. I'm going to grab this real quick. Daniel 12 and 10. It says, many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. Okay? So really, first off, the wicked we know is Esau, Edom. Okay? But 2/3 of our people, they choose to be in that wicked mindset, that wicked spirit of Esau, Edom. Right? So 2/3 of our people, they have a mentality, a mindset like their oppressor, like the so-called white man, Esau, Edom. Okay? So none of these wicked people, none of these wicked Israelites are going to understand the truth. They're not going to believe in the teachers that Yahweh B'Shem Yahawahshi has set up. They're not going to believe in the doctrine. It tells you that none of the wicked shall understand. Okay? And if you're unable to receive the ministry that is dropping like the rain, as it tells you in Deuteronomy 32:2. If you can't receive this ministry, guess what? By default, we know you're the wicked. We know how to discern the wicked from the righteous. It's easy, right? Plain and simple, according to the scriptures. You can't receive the Lord's prophets. You can't receive the Lord's word. You shut the Lord's mouth, in your presence. You don't want to hear the Lord's mouth, which are his prophets. And guess what? We know who you are. You're that 2/3. See? You don't believe. You don't want to repent. You don't want to call on the true names. Guess what? We know who you are according to prophecy. We know who you are. You're the wicked. You're that wicked 2/3 ass nigga that's stuck on stupid because you've been in Babylon too long. See? Grab this one real quick. Proverbs 6 and let's see, Proverbs 6 and I think 10. Let me see. Did I grab the right verse? Is it Proverbs 5 and 10? Actually, yeah, let me start at I'll start at 7. Proverbs 5 and 7. It says, hear me now, therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. And who are his mouth? His prophets are the mouth. The ones you don't believe are the Lord's teachers. You depart from the words of the mouth. Remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh the door of her house, lest thou give thine honor unto others, and thy years unto the cruel. Lest strangers be filled with thy wealth, and thy labors be in the house of a stranger. Right? And that's talking about when you're in these false doctrines. You go into, let's say you're an Israelite man, and you go and you become a pastor at a pagan Christian church. You're doing the labor in the house of a stranger. You see? This is verse 11. It says, and thou mourn at the last, when thy flesh and thy body are consumed, and say, how have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof? Okay, because the 2/3 of our people, the majority of the Israelites, they hate the instruction. They hate the righteous instruction. Their minds despise reproof. They don't want to be told, hey, you can't eat pork no more. The women, they don't want to be told, hey, you can't speak in the church. The women, they don't want to be told, hey, you can't leave your husband. You can't go out here being a hoe. These Babylonian women don't want to hear that. They want a man that they can walk all over, that pays for everything for them, puts a roof over their head, pays all the bills. While a lot of these women that are in that situation, they're being taken care of by some simp, and these women turn around and just do him totally dirty, be fucking around on him while he's at work, and so on and so forth. You see, and it goes both ways, right? Where you have, and I'm not talking about the cheating part, but I'm talking about you have men who are unrighteous in Israel, right? Who are just straight fucking wicked. But anyway, it says, and have not obeyed. Well, let me read 12 again. And say, how have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof, and have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined mine ear to them that instructed me. You see? So the majority of you people, you Israelites, you don't obey the voice of your teachers. You don't even, give us the acknowledgement that we are the teachers. Okay? But obviously, you can tell you have the men of the Lord have a spirit of discernment. We know who it is. We know who the hopeful elect is. We know who's able to break these scriptures down soundly. The spirit of Yahawahshi is dealing with certain men, and they're Israelite men. You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, the ones who have been called into this ministry. Okay? Let's go to 2 Corinthians 4:3. It says, well, let's see. I'll start at 1. 2 Corinthians 4:1, it says, therefore seeing we have this ministry, as we have received mercy, we faint not. So there are men on the planet Earth, Israelite men, who have received mercy, and we have the ministry, meaning we have the doctrine, we have the truth. Okay? You got those Israelites, they'll say, oh, well, how do you know you got the truth? How do you know these Christians don't have the truth? How do you know these pastors in the pulpit don't have the truth? Because, man, we when it comes to the sword, our sword is much sharper than anybody else's with the Holy Spirit. And the sword is a metaphor for the Bible. Our understanding is you know what I'm saying? Like but you do got men you have men that are of the circumcision, which are the Israelites. That means other Israelites who these alphabet groups, these alphabet camps, they don't have 100%. That's why we always tell you GMS has 100% truth. Okay? But it says in verse 2, but have renounced the hidden things of dishonesty, not walking in craftiness, nor handling the word of the Most High deceitfully, but by manifesting of the truth, commending ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of the Most High. See that? So we're doing this thing right before the Most High's eyes. The Most High sees the truth. The Most High sees who's out here glorifying the truth and not being dishonest or teaching with gimmicks or guile or craftiness. It says in verse 3, but if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost. See that? So the ones who can't receive this, the 2/3, you're just lost, right? You lost in whatever the Lord has you lost in. Because at the end of the day, like I told you in the beginning of the lesson, the Most High puts the Spirit on all of us to do what we do. And if you don't understand who His true servants are, who His true men are, who the ones who are actually preaching the true doctrine and the true gospel and the truth of the truth of the matter, if you can't see that, then you're lost. Okay? Let me read verse 4. In whom the power of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Hamashiach, who is the image of the Most High, should shine unto them. Right? So you can't even receive Yahawahshi Hamashiach. So how are you going to receive Yahweh? Because you're blinded by this world. You're blinded by like it says, the God of this world. Who's the God of this world? The God of this world is Satan, Shaitan, right? Which in Satan manifested in the flesh is the wicked, the so-called white man. And that's who our people, the 2/3, they want to follow the ways of the heathen, namely Esau, Edom. You see, they want to believe everything Esau, Edom tells them. Like we always say at camp, we say, listen, we're out here telling you that you're the Israelites and you don't believe it, right? Oh, no, I'm Mexican. No, I'm a Native American. Tell you, you're a Gadite. You're from the tribe of Issachar, according to the Bible. And they want to, deny that, reject it. But if if Esau, the devil, if he told you who you were, then you would believe him. You see? Because why? Because you believe the God of this world. You don't believe the Most High's mouth. You don't believe His true servants of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Because you look at us just like they looked at the apostles back in the day, in the ancient, right? In the time of the Romans. Let's get Acts 4:13. It says, now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John, who were apostles, and perceived that they were unlearned and ignorant men, they marveled, and they took knowledge of them that they had been with Yahawahshi. So when they saw our forefathers, Peter and John, they were like, man, these dudes are ignorant. They're unlearned. They don't know. They're not the men of the Lord. The same way they looked at Moses, the same way they look at us, And it's going to be your lack of faith, your lack of, understanding. And this is why the Most High has made you, you're a lost soul. You're a lost spirit, you see? Let me see if I can get this in the NLT. See, this is it right here. This is the Acts 4:13 in the NLT. It says, this is what it says in Acts 4:13 in the New Living Translation. It says, the members of the council were amazed when they saw the boldness of Peter and John, For they could see that they were ordinary men with no special training in the scriptures. They also recognized them as men who had been with Yahawahshi. You see? So that's what it is, man. They think, oh, these dudes don't know the scriptures. Like, where's your church? You know, that's what a lot of people say. Well, where's your church? Where's your building? Why don't you have a building? Not knowing that the men of the Lord are the church, right? Let's get that real quick. Revelation 21:3. And I heard a voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of the Most High is with men. And that's the point, all right? So a tabernacle is another word for church. So the church of the Most High is with men. The men are the church. You know, one thing I like to tell people a lot is that word Ecclesiastes, right? In Spanish, in Espanol, it's iglesia, and that word means to call out. Ecclesiastes, iglesia, both mean to call out, like to shout out, to call out, right? So now ask yourself: does a building, like a physical church, does that have an ability to call out, or do the men call out? Are the men who have that ability to call out, right? And the answer is the men. So that shows you that we are the church. Okay. Let me see. Was there another precept I could grab here? Well, I think I'll leave it at that. But the point of this lesson is to, just to show that the men of the Lord. Yeah, that's what it is. Let me grab this real quick before I close this out. It came back to me. All right, let's go to... Well, yeah, we'll go to Peter. 1 Peter 2:8, it says, and a stone of... Let me see, what's this verse? Yeah, this is perfect. Actually, okay, this is perfect. I'm going to grab 1 Peter 2. You know what? I'll start at 2. 2 Peter 2. It says, as newborn babes desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. All right. And what's the milk is this knowledge, right? Sincere knowledge. If so, be ye have tasted that Yahawahshi is gracious, to whom coming as unto a living stone, disallowed indeed of men, but chosen of the Most High and precious, right? So even though you don't believe we're the men of the Lord, guess what? We're in the sight of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yoshai, we're precious. And this is actually talking about Yahawahshi, okay? But like I say, we are basically, we're like replicas of Yahawahshi, okay, in the spirit. It says, ye also, see, now it includes us, the prophets, the teachers, the understudies of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. It says, ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house. Okay, and that's that spiritual temple, that the men calling out, that spiritual iglesia, that spiritual Ecclesiastes, right? That spiritual church, right? An holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to the Most High by Yahawahshi HaMashiach. Wherefore also it is contained in the scripture, behold, I lay in Sion a chief cornerstone, elect, meaning chosen, precious, meaning rare, And he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. This is talking about Yahawahshi again now. It says, unto you, therefore, which believeth, he is precious. But unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed, the same is made the head of the corner. Right? And the cornerstone is Yahawahshi. All right? And he's precious. Yahweh B'Shem Yahawahshi are precious to the men of the Lord. All right? But to the disobedient, which are the 2/3, you've disallowed. You were, remember, everybody was reincarnated, regenerated. You people who don't receive the men of the Lord today, you're the same ones that didn't receive, you Israelites. You're the same ones that didn't receive Yahawahshi during the time of the Romans when Yahawahshi was walking on the earth. You didn't receive him. Just like you don't receive his men in this day and age. It says, and a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense, even to them which stumble at the word, being disobedient, whereunto also they were appointed. You see? So, hey, the men of the Lord throughout history, we've always been stumbling blocks to the 2/3. All right? The Most High Yahweh B'Shem Yahawahshi have not given you a spirit of faith. They have not given you a spirit of belief. They have not given you a spirit of to receive this truth, to receive this knowledge. Okay? And we're always going to be a stumbling block, just like our Lord Yahawahshi. You know, we're going to be a stumbling block in your eyes. Okay? So with that, I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahawahshi, Ba'Shem, Ruka, Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the 4 corners of the earth. Shalom to the elect.